Okay, so guys, this is about a water pump, and it's a water pump from a Jaguar. It's from an XJ81 or XJ40 with a V12, and it's the 6-liter version. That's quite important, it's the 6-liter version. The car itself is from 93, it's actually model 94 with the airbag on the passenger side, that's another story. But the water pump here needs to be restored. So we have this type of water pump, so this is from the inside, you can see. And here we have it from the outside, so that's a pretty standard thing. There's a little bit of play in the bearing, and I'm losing about 2 liters of water every week, so that's of course not okay. So, and there I'm pretty sure it's the bearing inside, or the seal inside here. So I got this guy out, and now I need to put in some new stuff. I have here, here, there should be a new seal. I hope it fits. I guess it will. Put it there. And for the bearing, it's right here. So here's a new bearing. Of course, I also hope this one will fit. It doesn't look, at least the length looks quite okay. And this is quite nice in no play, of course, or anything. So it took me 2 or 3 hours to get this damn pump out. Just to give you a short look at the car, we have the car is here, and the engine is down, as I told about what it is, and of course the water pump is taken out from down here. The seal is still there, and I need to clean that for prepare for a new seal. What is actually quite annoying here is this water pipe hanging here, because it's connected on top of the water pump, and it's also connected in both ends, and it's pretty stiff thing, and basically there's no freedom of movement in this when you're opening it up, so that is a little bit of work, but anyway, I got it out after some hours. So the idea is now I want to stainless exhaust is ready for one time when I get the time to mount that. That's a nice thing. But now what I want to do now is then to dismantle it. I've not done this before. I read a little bit about it. So the idea is that you basically first pull this out. Here there are 2 threads, so you can put some screws in, and through that should be possible to remove this one here. And after that, I think there is a couple of screws behind that, and so you are able to open. You can see this is actually 2 parts, this pump, so it should be possible to dismantle these 2 parts from each other. And then the bearing in there, I guess it needs to be pressed out. And then of course this one, well, of course I'm pretty sure this is also, the pulley is also pressed on the shaft here. So but I'll just go on working with that right now, and I'll start the video again whenever I have some news how this happened or how that turned out. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I need to make this tool to extract the shuffle or whatever it's called. So it's made. I didn't have any fixed tools that was working, but I managed to get this kind of set up here. And well, maybe you don't know, but basically it's already starting to open. So I just screw very nicely on this one, and then I'm able to open now. So it will get off this way. That seems to be okay. Okay, so now I came to a little bit of an issue, which I actually was a little bit expecting. But I was just thinking, okay, I'll find out on the way. But just a little bit about this. So now I managed to get the old ceiling out. Well, it came out in quite a lot of pieces. I don't know where they all are. I used a press I have down here. This small press here. So that's really very, very useful for that kind of thing, for sure. And different kind of tools on the press. So that one went out very well. By the way, I'm pretty happy to see this impeller, how it's looking, because there's no sign of wear or corrosion or anything. So this I'm pretty happy about, actually. It's actually the same I can see inside here, because you can easily have a pitting, corrosion or something around this area here. So this is that's actually looking quite nice, so I'm happy about that. And I actually got the bearing, or sorry, the sealing out, so the new one should go in here. That should be quite okay. It is actually made so you can see there's a hole there. It's actually also a hole up there. That's basically the top of this one, top of the water pump. And these holes are actually just going through. So here, you will actually be able to see through. The other one is a little difficult because they're sitting this kind of packaging, but the hole is still through. I don't know if you can see it, but because the hole is actually ending out just over here, so in bottom here. So basically, I don't know. Yeah, well, we can see through. Yeah, there we go. There's some light coming through. That's clear enough. So, and the idea with these two holes is that if the ceiling that is sitting here, as I showed, is not really working, then the water will start to go out there, or actually also in the top, probably mostly in the bottom. And that will be the first sign you will have of a untight ceiling. So on the front you will actually get water coming out there, or you could even see water coming out there. So that's basically okay. That's fine. That's how it should be. So my issue is this hole here. There's another hole, and in that hole, when I bought the car, was sitting this tiny little thing here. It's now it's out of focus, but anyway, it's a kind of pinhole screw with this safety nut on to fasten it. The pinhole in one end is tapered a little bit. I know it's difficult to see, and actually you can see there's actually a hole in it. So there's a hole through also. And this one have been puzzling me quite a lot. And first now I really am sure what to do. You know, I ordered this one at SGN in UK, and I asked if it was fitting exactly my model with frame number and everything, and they say this is the perfect one. So now I roll it, you see there's nothing. On this one, on the other hand, there's a hole. Yeah, this hole is actually going through the outer shelf of the bearing and into, you know, the middle part. So you can actually, if you rotate, you will be able to see that it might be rotating down there also. And when everything is in the system and fixed, this little screw here is actually going in here and fixing the bearing. They say I read somewhere for rotating or maybe even moving action. It's fixing. They also say that you can remove this one, and then you can put this nipple. I don't know if that's the English word, but this thing here, you can mount that. It's actually the same kind of thread, so you can just mount it here, and then you can use a grease gun, and then you can actually put grease in, and then they say after you have done that you should replace this, and that is probably again to fix it so it's not moving. So that's a little bit of my kind of problem now, is that my issue is that I don't have the hole in this one. and I don't want to start to drill in this, you know, this kind of material you're normally making bearings out of. It's impossible to work in, basically. So I don't like to do that, and I will for sure never be able to drill all the way through the shelf, so it will never be working as a lubrication hole. If I do anything, I might be able to make some kind of small dent kind of stuff, which this one could fit in and maybe be able to fix it. But to be honest, I don't think I want to try this. I'm still considering this a little bit, what to do here. Actually, I have to make the decision pretty soon. But this is a little of a puzzle, so I'm not sure what to do. Anyway, I will come back. I'll think a little bit more about it. Come back and find out. I will work on something else in between, and then I'll probably find out what I will do. So, see you later. So, coming back to the hole in the old one. So I actually decided what to do, and I already done it. I'm not so concerned about not being able to adding lubrication through the hole. This is fine. I think the new one is sealed for life. But I'm a little worried about if it starts to move axial. Not rotating, that's basically also okay, but if it moves axial, then, you know, some of the parts might start to get in contact, the rotating parts. So I want to fix it so it's not able to moving axial. And as I said, you cannot drill in this material, that's impossible, but you can grind. So I did this little groove here. It's just with a very, very simple old, almost burned out Dremel thing here with this grinder. And then I just grinded this little groove, and then my screw, that's going to be difficult to show, but the screw can then go down in this groove and fix. It will actually also not rotate because it's fixing. And it's not much forces that are on, so it's not so important how deep the groove is. I'm not sure how deep I made it. I can just measure. Well, that seems to show. I cannot see it on the phone. So yeah, 1.5 millimeter, and I think that's sufficient basically. Important part is, of course, when I assemble that I make sure that this small screw here is actually going nicely into the groove, and then I fix it there. Then I basically think that should be okay. So I am ready to assembling. I'm considering quite a lot how to do it. Because, you know, they have to be this bearing have to be, you know, pressed into here. I also have to have the ceiling pressed, and here I'm also a little bit in doubt. The ceiling should be pressed from on the bottom of this, and at the end I have to press this one in one end and this pulley here in the other end. But I just, you know, these two I can press on at the end if I want. It doesn't matter because the shaft will be sticking out in both ends and I can support very nicely. It doesn't matter from what side, and I can wait with those two for the last part. What is more what I'm more concerned about is this here. It's a little special, well, for me special, probably a standard one, but it's a little special kind of seal because it actually can. There's a spring. So I can press it down like that, and I'm actually not sure in, you know, what kind of position it should be when it's fixed, because I'm pretty sure that this outer face here, there's this edge here around, so of course that one have to be pressed all the way down to this surface, so I can press this in and just use a some kind of big round thing here, and I can press this in. What about the shaft? That should come from the other side, and then I need to support here under. But how far should I press the shaft down? Should I have this spring? This is spring. This is a normal compression spring, and should I have that kind of in the middle when the whole thing is finished, so you could say it can move in both directions? I guess I will try to aim for that. But you cannot feel that basically when it's fixed. So what I have to do is I have to measure now how high it is here when it's like loose, and then I can make a complete compression and see what that is, and then when I start doing all the pressing work, I can then keep control on where I am with this. I'm not completely sure how this is going to turn out, but anyway, that's an extra little detail to consider. So, but I'll come back when I have more of this. Okay, so now I got the two parts that actually was the pump disassembled. So it was sitting like this, and there is also a seal around there, and I want to make sure that that was okay. So I want to take that apart as well. Just have to pay notice that there are sitting these guys, a couple of small tubes. There was one here and also one here. So you have to kind of hammer them out from this side. Otherwise, it's quite difficult to disassemble. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there actually is one here also. But maybe you can notice that this hole is bigger than the other, and that's another long story. Because I have had the water pump out before, and the only thing I did there was sealing against the motor, and that did not help anything. I found out that I need to change this seal here and also the bearing. So it's the second time I'm taking it off, but first time when I took it off, there was this bolt that comes through from the engine here actually broke, and there's a little bit of strange construction because there's a kind of a house for the timing belt just behind, and this screw is pretty long, going all the way through this middle house with the timing belt and into the motor, into the engine. So it's a pretty long bolt, and it broke up here, and it simply corroded in the bottom in the engine. And I only had a little pin sticking out without any thread, and I didn't know what to do because that was basically pretty crappy. Because I could not, if I just continue to try with a larger tool to loosen it at the bottom, it would probably break in the timing house instead, timing belt house, timing chain house, and that would really be crappy because then I have to take out the timing house. That's a lot of different work. So I decided instead that I actually welded a small piece of thread on that piece of bolt that was still remaining and sticking out. But that actually meant that now it's something that is sticking out, and that meant that I had difficulty in putting the house back with the pump, the water pump back, because this was sticking out. I could not, kind of turn it around so it was sitting correct. I needed a little bit more play, so I just need a very little play, so I just drilled this hole a little bigger, and that was enough to get enough play so I could move it around and get it on space. That was because I now have a bolt sticking out. Instead, it should be a bolt that you could remove completely. This is actually all the bolts. There's a lot that holds the engine, so they're actually lying here. It should be one of those guys here, but then actually it broke up here, and I put a thread on top, so now it's sitting in the engine block all the time and sticking out, and that actually made a lot of trouble there. But anyway, that was from another time, and I think in that hole there was this kind of small tube as well. Anyway, so now I have this open here, and again I'm pretty satisfied with the look. Actually, there is some strange residues here, I'm not sure what it is, but actually otherwise I'm quite happy. So what I will do is I will clean off the ceiling here, or the surface I will clean around, and I have a new seal. I'll come back to that when I will do that later. Okay. Okay, back again. So now I have mounted the ceiling in there, and of course the bearing. I can hardly see that. And the pulley out here. There's 20 millimeter of shaft sticking out. Oh, 10 millimeter of shaft. I mounted also the screw here, so that should be fixed into the groove I made. It was easy to see when the groove was aligned with the hole. So now the shaft should not be able to move axial, and actually not rotor. I have cleaned the surfaces here, so they are very nice cleaned. This needs on both sides. Actually, I don't have. I only have sealing here for this side. I don't have the other sealing. It's of course broken during a dismantle, but I don't have an extra one. But I'm actually considering not to use this sealing anyway. I don't like this. This is a very thin paper one. Of course, it's a special paper, oil resistant and stuff. But in principle, I don't like that. The other one that was in is also one of the older, thicker version. But I have been able to get some good sealing. Well, this is normal casket, fluid casket you can get anywhere. But actually in my old manual, the original manual for the car, they recommend this. It's Hylamar 102 RTV silicone sealant, and this should be really good where you need to seal for water inside. I actually have a longer story about how not to use this. It ended up I wasted a whole one of this, and I lost a grease pump, and I didn't get anything out of it. So that's another story. But I bought two at that time, so it's from UK, and now I have the other one, and now I want to use it the right way, which is as a normal sealant. So I will apply that on this surface here, and on this surface. Then I can put these two parts together. They will only be able to be fixed together with these two brushes here, or the small tubes I have, which I then will press them together. So there will not be a really good pressure on the surface. So that's why I have basically prepared everything now, so I can mount these or connect these two or assemble these two together. And then right away the surface is also ready, and the engine is also cleaned and ready. And that means I will then do this as fast as possible, just to be sure that I will get screws through here when I mount it on the engine. There will first come screws when I mount it on the engine, and therefore that's first when I mount it on the engine I'll be able to really squeeze these two parts together. And this I would like to do before the sealing completely cures. So the sequence is I will apply the sealant here and sealant here, put these together, press these brushes through so it will hold a little bit. Then I'm missing something which is important. This one, the impeller. I'm only able to put that on after this plate is on, because it cannot go through this hole here. So first I will have to put this one on here with sealant, and when that's on, then I press these two brushes, and then I can press this down, and when that's down, then I will put sealant all the way around here on the engine, and then I can mount the water pump. So that's the plan, to do that fairly fast. So the engine is clean, ready for receiving the water pump. On a completely different note, this is one of the best Danish beer from a smaller brewery. It's a lager type. Well, it's just to say that. That's just how it is. Okay, so I'll come back to you because I will be working here pretty intensive. and I will come back after that. So just into media's view here, where I didn't want to show you because I'm in a hurry, but just to let you know that I now mounted these two, and actually they was pressed quite nice together with the two brushes, these two parts, so the sealing is there. And here I have, before I dismantled, I measured this height here, and so going down to that surface down there and up, and there I have something like 20 millimeters. I don't know if you can see that. That's 20 millimeters. So that's about what it should be. So that looks pretty okay. But I will hurry with the next part. Okay, so I actually managed to assemble the whole thing. I drove it very fast the other day, just inside the door open in idle, just to see if there was really big failure. And then today I have been at work, and well, it's very difficult to see anything, but I have been at work now, and that means a drive 2 times half an hour, and that seems to work very well. So seems to be tight, everything I have done. Of course, more hours on the road will definitely show if everything is working, but it looks very promising at this point. So that's it. Okay, thank you guys for now.